First of all, I do have to say a massive thank you for actually having this conversation. I think we probably come from very similar passions of wanting these conversations to be had to help people really understand that what they're going through in perimenopause, menopause, this stage of life is not unusual. There's such power in knowing that, other people are experiencing this, and the more we can have these conversations, the more women can feel empowered to then have conversations with people like their GPs to be able to get the results they want. So I guess starting off, do you want to talk a little bit about how you came to discover Freedom Pilates? And yeah, start where you want to start. Or do you want to go back a little bit before that? Because I do think that a big part of the challenge of perimenopause, or this transition, actually is as much related to where we've come from. And this change of going, well, actually, I'm no longer that person. What works for me, what worked for me when I was 20, 25, 30 is quite different. So maybe we rewind a little bit to your journey with Motivate Me, exercise in general.
Yeah, or my realisation moment of perimenopause. Are we talking perimenopause? Yeah, gosh. There's so much, and we've talked about so much today. It's been so mind-blowing, really, eh? Just like, I don't know, we've connected on so many topics today, it's hard to figure out where to pick up from. I think that's where we're struggling right now.
Yeah.
But I'll talk about my perimenopause journey, right? Because I think that's the topic of conversation, and that's happening a lot online at the moment, which is great. It's something that I'm really interested in talking about, comfortable talking about, because I'm so curious about it, and just know how much of a topic it is that's been just so traditionally taboo, but so needed to be talked about. And I think the need, when I say it needs to be talked about, it comes from a space of, I know from personal experience and also talking with friends and family, how many women feel so alone to the point where it really starts impacting mental health. You know, I think this is where the need comes from for me. It's like, let's help each other feel better about ourselves, more accepted, more like we're not alone on this journey. What I'm experiencing may be different to what you're experiencing, but it's the impact of it is still as strong and still is like really sideswipes you off life, you know? Like, do you know what I'm trying to say?
That sideswipe is such a good, because it can come on so suddenly.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of women, in hindsight, they don't think they can look back and connect a few of the dots.
Yeah.
But certainly the big changes in life feel like it's like, wow, wait a minute, I wasn't expecting this just yet.
Yeah, I'm 45 now, and I think, like you're saying, in hindsight, if I look back, I feel I've probably been experiencing perimenopause for probably 5 years, 4 or 5 years, if I think about different phases that I've been in. But in terms of the sideswipe, or where I feel like I've really been hit by a train, or this tidal wave of symptoms has come on, has been the past year. Yeah. So I've had all these build-up symptoms. I think of my body telling me things, and going to the doctor and, you know, communicating these things, in different options being offered to me to kind of manage those symptoms. But a year ago, it felt like a whole tidal wave of symptoms were just screaming at me, you are perimenopausal, and I'm here, like smacking me in the face. Yeah. You know, and I felt really unprepared. I felt really shocked, maybe shocked, because I didn't think it was going to be so hard and painful, like literally painful in so many ways. Yep. Yeah. And so, that's what happened a year ago. I just I didn't wake up one day, it happened, like, you know, it is phases, but it truly feels like you wake up the next day and I've put on 10 to 15 kgs in a space of a year, which is a lot, you know, and it feels like it's all gone to my stomach. You know, I've always had a bit of a belly, but it feels like it's just gone boom, and so much bloat now, like that just won't go away. Other things that I've experienced like hugely this past year is a lot of body and joint pains and aches. To the point where I can't sleep. Like, it really impacts my sleep. Oh, my hips are so achy during the night. It will wake me up. And I'm like, I'm laying there thinking, what is wrong with me? Like, am I dying? But why are my hips aching like this? And why are my knees aching like this? I had frozen shoulder for a good probably 3 months throughout this year. I couldn't even lift that arm. And I'm like, I haven't even been training. And I'm waking up in the morning with these body aches. And I have not even gone to the gym. You know, like it's like, oh, you wake up in the morning because you've gone trained hard the day before. You like, embrace the pain.
I was going to say, and that's that's reward. I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Whereas now it's just like, I don't go to the gym because I don't feel confident. I've put on all this weight, which, goes against itself. I realize that. So I'm not training, but I'm waking up. I feel fatigued every day, like I'm exhausted. I feel body is in pain every day, like I've been lifting lots of weights and I haven't been. The shoulder plays up, but that's just gone away. Come in for no reason, gone away for no reason, And then I also mentally a lot. Oh God, mental is just a whole nother can of worms. Talk about the mind. Forgetting things, forgetting words when I'm in middle conversation, forgetting a lot of memories are hard to recall even. So the whole brain fog thing is very, very prevalent. And then mentally, social anxiety. I've never really had social anxiety. I would probably say I've been quite a hermit this last year for all these other reasons. I just want to stay at home and hide away from people. Haven't spent as much time with my friends that I normally would. And that could be a combination of how I'm feeling, but also being in a new relationship, So that's what we talked about today. There's always these other life factors that come in that gets us confused.
Absolutely, because it is a massive time of change that I guess males go through in that stage of life as far as, well, yes, I'm at this, I'm heading towards my 50s. What's the rest of my life going to look like? Have I achieved my goals? But for women, we've got that same awareness that we're at a crossroads of life, and are we achieving, or are we going to live the rest of the life the way we want to live, whether it be, do I have the financial security I need to be able to retire and enjoy retirement versus, well, wait a minute, I thought that by this age I wanted to achieve these goals and I haven't. But then for us as females, we've got this whole, excuse the language, shitstorm of hormones that then makes it even more amplified.
Yes.
And I think that's that real struggle of it. And you're going, well, is this hormonal? Is this just me going crazy with a midlife crisis? Right. Is it just me deciding, there's this real tear. But having worked with women as a health professional for so long, I really do believe it's that underlying hormonal storm just amplifies it in a way. And it's the one thing that we can at least optimise and help to manage if we've got awareness of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we need that awareness. Things like the frozen shoulder, which you've just revealed here, we hadn't talked about that earlier. The minute someone comes into my clinic around that age with frozen shoulder, I'll instantly go, there's a hormonal influence. And you talk about that hip pain, and it's something that for a long time we've known. I was saying when I went through university, hip pain was something middle-aged women suffer, full stop. It's just something you have to put up with. Now, for a long time, when someone comes in with that, it's been that first opportunity to speak to someone and say, well, look, there's probably changes hormonally that are affecting that. But it wasn't until I experienced it myself, and that's that night pain, that I had a new empathy for the number of women that would come in and just say, I'm really worried there's something significantly wrong with my hips. Be it they instantly go to, do I need a joint replacement, or is there cancer or something? This is intense.
Scan me. I want to scan you.
And I remember when I first started getting that pain, go, oh, now I understand. just how impactful this is. It's a really horrible pain.
It is. And then it's the lead on from all that, or the flow on from that, right? The waking up at night from the hip pain. Also, we're waking up because we're going to the toilet more during the night.
Yes.
Or we've got that automatic wake up at 3 a.m. for some reason.
Yep.
So there's all these reasons we're waking up at night. Then our sleep has been impacted, or we're jumping on our phones to try and, there's all these other new behaviours that are coming through when we should be sleeping and resting, and we're awake. And then the next day is difficult.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's hence the fatigue and hence the brain fog and all these other things. So it's just a terrible, like you're saying, hormonal shitstorm, but a flow on of terrible behaviours that is
And then that then goes into, as you say, that flow on of, well, actually, I'm sore, I'm tired, I don't feel great in my body. Yes, I'll go to my GP and he'll say, well, exercise will really help with that. But it's like, actually, and you and I have both come from active lifestyles, understanding that exercise is really good for us. Certainly, I know that I read your book and you talk a lot about exercise for mental health, and I've always been a believer in that. But suddenly it's like, it's just not as easy as, well, just get out there and exercise.
Yeah.
Because suddenly the exercises that you used to find helpful are actually
impossible
or even just playing with that mind of, I don't feel, and we talked about this, I don't feel like I belong. I can't keep up anymore. That's not easy like it used to be. And it's almost like shining a mirror in front of you and going, look, this is just amplifying.
Yeah. Got our conversations even proving, I think, how complicated menopause is. These conversations we have, we can go off on so many different tangents. You can feel it. You can feel the paths we want to go down. And I think that's why maybe it's one of the reasons it's been avoided for so long, is because no one can really nail it down. It's just such a complicated, layered issue for women that women have dealt with for generations and generations, and it's just it gets exhausting to try and express ourselves, or especially when we're asking for help.
I've seen the weight lift from women's shoulders when I've been in a physio appointment, generally for hip pain or some sort of tendon issue, and for me to connect the dots for them and say, it sounds like you're going through some changes with menopause. I think there's a hormonal component to what you experience, and you just see them just breathe and go, okay, there's a reason for this.
Yeah.
And they just want to be heard and understood initially.
Absolutely.
I think it's a really, validation is a word that I talk about a lot, and that validating that what you're experiencing is real. It's not in your head.
We seek so much validation I don't know, I feel like I'm seeking more validation at the moment.
Yeah.
Hear me, see me.
And I think too, it really is that so much of it changes. You talked about brain fog and the impact of brain fog. I think I underestimated, that's tied up, but for me personally, I found that was so tied up with my identity of I've always been what I would consider someone that's relatively quick with being able to understand things. Anyone in my physio's team would know that in the past, they could mention a client name and I would be able to recall from 10 years ago who their surgeon was, what knee they injured, all of those details. And suddenly it's like, I can't actually even finish a sentence.
I know.
And this identity is also changing because, well, who am I if I can't be the person that I was? And I think that's a really key part of the struggle.
It is a big thing, isn't it? Like, who am I now? And it's hard because not only are we dealing with the perimenopausal question of that, with the life changes at these ages, often women going through divorce or children growing up and leaving home or change of careers are all questions. Well, who am I now without my husband? Who am I now without my children? Who am I now without me feeling like me?
And I do actually think that's a really, really valid point as part of this whole female role of, for so long, we've been the caregivers. And it's almost like, well, wait a minute, I'm no longer, as you say, there's a lot of changes with either parents that we've looked after passing on, or children moving out of home, I know that it's almost like this. Well, I've never had to look after myself, be my primary caregiver. I'm not actually necessarily that comfortable with that role. I'm much more comfortable giving than I am just starting to look after myself. And so it's a whole new identity of, oh, well, it's actually okay for me to look after myself. In fact,
once you get to that
necessary, but it takes a long time
to get there, because you're still questioning, you're not questioning, still going through the process of the grieving of not being needed by your children, you know, or like not being fitting into these molds that you've always fitted into.
Yeah.
So there's so much like, I don't know if it is grieving, but this a mental, emotional process you've got to go through to kind of understand where you are now in this world.
Yeah. And I think we always, well, I don't know, I'll speak for myself, but you kind of think that by the time you're getting to your 40s, it's almost like, oh, this should be that time where everything, I know who I am and I'm settled in my life. And you suddenly go, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
Yeah. And all your friends in their 50s tell you, wait till you get to your 50s, it's going to be way better, like so much better.
And then you suddenly go, oh, actually, no, I actually am more uncertain of who I am.
You've still got plenty of shit to sort out.
I think another interesting thing is the lack of role models in that field. I mean, we've talked a fair bit today about social media and obviously, and the way that different age groups associate with social media. But there's nowhere near... I've always considered myself very lucky because I've worked with a lot of women who are in the probably 55 to 70-year age group that have been out the other end. Yeah. And I've often looked at their life and gone, I like what I see. I've got somewhere I can see that I'm moving towards, and it's not all downhill. It's actually just a new challenge. But you don't see a lot of that portrayed. We talked about clothes. You don't... Where do you think of as a menopausal woman to go to find clothes that are going to fit your shape?
Yeah.
And fit your style. I mean, I don't want to look like a 25-year-old.
Well, just finding a new style. I'm just like, I don't even know how to dress for my body anymore. You know, I still don't know what my style is. Yeah. Like I said to you, for the past year, I feel like I've lived in either shorts and baggy t-shirts or track pants and baggy hoodies. And they weren't even mine. They were my partner's because they were big enough.
Yes.
So it's like, there's so much new rediscovery to do. So mine was, probably about 5 years ago. I turned 40, but life in my marriage wasn't its best, and we were actually like leading towards separation and divorce. So there's a lot of that going on, as well as some perimenopausal symptoms now, I realise. So I put on some weight back then. I was highly emotional, and actually probably a little bit ragey when I was talking about the rage today, and dealt with some things probably like, why did you do that? You know, why are you responding that way? And it's just, it's hard to say, you know, like divorce is horrible, right? It's one of the worst, it's been the worst of my life, but also then amplified with perimenopause, and now you look at it, you're like, oh my God. And it's so not fair. But it is what it is, and it's just, in hindsight you can understand it. But I think if I knew at the time, I probably could have had a bit more support or help for the right things, like focused on different things, you know?
Plus empathy for yourself. I think when you're not sure that it's something that is inevitable, but there's a physiological reason, you're busy beating yourself up about it, which again amplifies it.
Yeah. And buying into the rhetoric, or the conversation of someone calling you crazy.
Yes.
You know, you're like, fuck, maybe I am.
And it sets off that vicious cycle and reaffirms it rather than go, okay, there's something physically going on here that needs some attention and some balance. And I think that's also, we talk about that mental health, that ability to go, well, look, with mental health and the pro-antidepressants versus not antidepressants, there's a physiological reason why sometimes we just need more support than we can get from Whole Foods or from exercise. And there's no shame in that, but we need to be aware that that's an option.
Absolutely. And I am pro antidepressants,
Yes.
even with what I said before, because I have dealt with depression in the past. I've had years of depression off and on, and medication was one of the things that absolutely helped me get back to a level where I could see sense and I could see perspective and start dealing with the issues. And for me, it was a really great option to just get me to a level to help myself. And then I have, but since probably maybe the last 4 years, I haven't really had any issues with depression until just this year of menopause, where it seems more like social, like I said before, social anxiety, a few down, definitely down days, and down days and losing a lot of self-confidence. Yeah. But not dark depression like I've experienced in the past. Yeah.
And maybe that's, I don't want to say it's the wrong word, but so excuse me for saying it, but it's almost the advantage of knowing what that depression felt like versus, okay, I can feel I'm down, but this is different. Yeah. This feels like a different, whether it be whatever's going on biochemically, but therefore I need to approach it differently too.
Yeah, absolutely.
As opposed to someone, I guess, who, as you say, your friends that are just told, oh, well, look, I think antidepressants would be the right. And it's like, you've got that almost intuition to go, no, that's not what's happening here.
Yeah, I don't feel like I need to reach for that option. I can feel, like it definitely is something different. Yeah. No, it's interesting, I've spoken about all the things that come on, like the tidal wave of symptoms and the new things I'm experiencing that has really kind of shaken me. But also another big indicator or another big awareness has been the things I can't do anymore. Physically, primarily physical, apart from the brain fog stuff, like being switched on, all that sort of thing. Just in like a year ago, I was playing prem netball for my team, back in Tauranga. Now I wouldn't even dream of stepping on a court. I didn't think I'd be able to jump an inch off the floor. Yeah. In a space of 1 year. And like I said before, I was lifting weights every day a year ago with a PT at the gym. Now I could not even fathom putting a barbell on my shoulders and trying to do a squat or pick up a barbell and try and do a deadlift, just because there's so much pain in my body. And I'm just like, and then that sounds so extreme just saying that out loud. And
that's where the self-judgment almost comes in. Because it's like, and I think too, there's almost a little bit of this realisation. I don't know about you, but I look back certainly in my younger years where everything was fixable via hard work. And I always prided myself on that, look, it just means I need to work harder, and if I'm not getting the results, it's because I'm not working hard enough. Whereas there's this realisation that, hard work's actually not going to help. In fact, it's probably going to make it worse. And it's a really interesting, once again, it's like I've got to find a new solution. Because hard work's no longer working for me, and it's been my thing all the way along. I've always known that I could just work a bit harder. Yeah. And
that's it, all right? The big change, and that is one of the significant changes that we all know get into this phase, is changing the way we exercise. Yes. And you spoke about my Motivate Me days, and we've spoken about this today. Like back then, it was 2012 I started Motivate Me, so it was 13 years ago. High intensity workout all the time, lifting weights, but just so everything just felt, it was hard and challenging because we made it hard and challenging, but the body was so responded. But I was doing things like, I just wanted to touch on this actually because it just came to mind. Yoga and Pilates, Reformer Pilates, was in my realm back then. Yes. And I did do them. But upon reflection, I think, and I probably admit, a lot of those yoga and Pilates was probably dabbled in for content reasons. You know what I mean? I'm actually just thinking that now because when we spoke about what type of Pilates. Yeah. It looked great for photos when you're in certain poses, or in yoga in certain poses, it looked great for photos and content, or we could do a handstand or do all these sorts of things, so I didn't feel like I actually needed those in my training back then because, I was doing boot camps. Boot camps were huge back then. Yes. And I was going to the gym and pumping out a high intensity workout. I was running, I was sprinting, I was doing half marathons, I was doing triathlons. Oh my God, I can't even believe I'm saying these things. I was doing these things and playing netball and getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning training and then going to play sports at nights as a, in my 30s, doing all these things. dabbled in, and like I said, dabbled in yoga and Pilates. And now when I did enjoy them, and there was other benefits, but now I'm just thinking, God, they were great for content because it used to look so good in so many of these poses.
Yeah.
Now it's a very different reason.
And I think we touched on it earlier, the difference between that, we look back and go, oh, but that worked for my body. That high intensity work and all of that running, that was when I was at my fittest. But a part of that was also just where you were also at your, physiologically speaking, your body was at its peak. And so it was going to respond to those things. And it's so different now to go, oh, now it just doesn't respond the way that it used to. And I've got to therefore, and it's not as forgiving. So as you say, that going and putting the thought of doing deadlifts and heavy squats, despite the fact that we're being told that we need much more weight, heavy lifting, it's like, but my body just knows that it doesn't want that right now.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting challenge, isn't it? To kind
really
of go,
is.
well, okay, I'm being told I should do it, so I better do it. But then my body's telling me no.
I think the biggest lesson has been to slow down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's probably been the hardest, mentally and physically.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you feel it's accepting old age, it's accepting I can't do these things, accepting my life's going to be very different.
And it's a really interesting conversation to have because I want the message to be that old age isn't about having to slow down. It's not a negative. We can still do what we want to be able to do.
Yeah, you've got to reframe it, eh?
But then at the same time, there's an acceptance of, well, but maybe it's certainly not going to, my body's not the same as it was when it was 25 and 30. So where's this happy medium of not just saying, okay, well, I'm just getting old, so I'll give up everything, versus accepting that, well, no, my body is different in the way it responds. It's a really, really tricky
It is
balance.
really tricky. It is really tricky.
I have seen...
To be honest, it depends what day of the month is how you feel about it.
Yeah, exactly. I have seen a massive shift since I first graduated as a physio to now in terms of, I think of women coming into the clinic and the perception of what age is now considered old and what they expect their body to do. When I first graduated, I remember people coming in around the 55 years of age, and you start talking to them as a physio and say, look, we really need to get you more active. And at that stage, oh, look, I'm getting old. No, I'm ready. They were literally, I still remember one client in particular said, oh, I'm ready to just knit now. Whereas now you will get much more of the people saying, I'm getting old, therefore I need you to help me find some exercise that'll work for me.
Yeah, that's so good.
So that is positive.
It's not over, it's just different.
Yeah. And it is about, maybe that is part of the whole thing, that acceptance of, okay, it's different now. How does it look for me now?
I just want to just go back on the topic of how much conversation around menopause there is now. And yes, there's a lot of noise and a lot of noise. But I think the good thing is that there is noise about it. And I say that because I touched on this today with you. Back in when I had Motivate Me in 2012 was when we started and went for a few years and was building this community of women around New Zealand who would, join on this online community, would talk about our health, our wellness. Our goals were to eat clean and work out, and most of us to lose weight while juggling full-time work and children and family and relationships and all that sort of stuff. And it was great. I loved my Motivate Me days, and our community we had was fantastic. Now I look back on a couple of issues where I kind of feel really bad actually. There was a group of women within Motivate Me who would sit around that kind of 45 plus into their 50s. We're all following the same kind of program, the same kind of principles and things, and some of them will be just like, I'm not getting the results. And not once in any of the conversation of, 3,500, 5,000 women in the group at different times did the word perimenopause or menopause ever come up. It was never a discussion of topic. It was never brought up as a reason why they could be struggling or feeling the way that they're feeling or not gaining the results that the 20 or 30-year-old was gaining. And I feel really bad about that, we're in this community of women going through, we've talked a lot about mental health and all these other strong factors, but not once.
That is two things on that. One, it just highlights why finding a community of people who are going through similar things can really help, because you start piecing those pieces together. But I think also it is just that reality of when you haven't walked it, it is very hard to see the signs, no matter how you can look back on that now and go, now I see why that would be. But of course you didn't see it at that point.
No, and I'm sure there would have been women in the group, because we had women right up to 60 plus in our community. There would have been women in that group going through perimenopause, probably aware of it and maybe talking about it, but because it was such a topic, they obviously did not want to bring it up either, because it was just was not discussed, you know. Another big sector which I came across a lot and Motivate Me, I feel that weren't educated around that space. We're personal trainers, PTs.
Yes, yeah.
PTs. Yeah.
And I think, I find it even with, some of it does just come down to not even training. It is just literally you don't know what you can't understand what you haven't experienced yourself. Because I know in our Pilates studios, we will have a lot of our instructors are people like myself. So they're going through menopause, they understand it. But we also have a number of younger instructors. And for them, we're always pointing out, we're going, look, you just don't understand how irritable some of these women's tendons are. I know that feels really light to you. Yeah, you thought that's
irritable the women are. That's what you're going to say.
It's the tendons that get really... So whilst... Yes, you can go, and you touched on it earlier, you can go at 25 and do a hard workout and the soreness the next day feels like reward. For someone in menopause, the load that you put through that tendon because of the changes in estrogen, it is physical injury pain the next day. And it's not because they're not tough. It's not because they're not conditioned. It is just literally their tendons have changed and they are really sensitive.
Yeah. Like the pain receptors are really going off, right?
So we now know that, and I think now about how no one bothered making the connection with the fact that middle-aged women get a lot of tendinopathies, tendinitis, we called it when I was going through. We never made the connection with, that also coincides with these changes hormonally. I wonder if there's an impact. We now recognise that estrogen is almost like a wonder hormone in terms of its protective effect.
Right.
It protects our joints, it protects our tendons, it protects our heart. Every single tissue of the body is impacted by estrogen. And when that suddenly drops away, naturally the body goes, well, wait a minute, I've lost my protector. It feels different.
Yeah, it's such a way to look at it. You don't know that until it's gone.
Yeah.
Until someone educates you, right?
And so, there is, and it is where people start to go, I feel like I'm going crazy, because we see it all the time in the clinic, I feel like I'm going crazy. Last week it was my Achilles that felt really sore. Now my shoulder's frozen and I've just got this back pain. Am I going crazy? I never used to have injuries. And it's like, no, you're not going crazy. You've just had a sudden drop in estrogen. And then what makes them feel even more crazy is that estrogen may then go back up to normal for a period of 4 or 5 months, and they go, oh, that was just a strange phase. Then it drops again. And it's like, oh, God, I'm back to feeling like I'm crazy.
And different symptoms come.
And there's different symptoms. And so without that knowledge that, no, this is this isn't you being weak, this isn't you being deconditioned or just whinging. There's a physiological thing going on here.
Yeah.
And that tendon pain, as I say, now I've experienced it. I'm like, that is really different. And gone are those days of those lovely, you're not thinking of that DOMs the next day. It is really
But I feel I wake up with DOMs, but I'm not working out.
Yeah,
so it's not.
And you have to manage that differently. And as I say, when I see these young girls go, oh no, they just need to get stronger. And I know I used to do the same thing. I keep saying I've just been hit with a big karma stick because it was the advice, oh no, they just need to get stronger. It's like, yes, they do need strength training, but how they go about that needs to be very different for the way their bodies react. And I think that that would be the one takeaway that I wish people could really understand, that it's maybe the advice isn't any different. Strength is still really good, but how you go about getting it is going to be very different.
Different, absolutely.
It's yeah, and until you're there, you can't really comprehend it.
Yeah, and which is why I think Reformer Pilates has entered back into my life again. You know,
Yeah.
I was saying before, it's like I dabbled in it 7-8 years ago. Felt like I nailed it. I was great on the Reformer.
Yeah.
It could do it all.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, and as I said, it was made for good content. But now, like, I even struggle to stand on the Reformer sometimes, you know, in terms of fear of, you know, lack of balance or stability.
Yeah.
So different. I love the exercises where I'm laying on my back.
Yeah.
But getting up and off of the carriage is a bit difficult.
As I say, the fact that I do that on video really scares me. I never watch the games.
Oh, I just feel like an elephant rolling off and just landing on the ground. Oh, but once I'm on there, I love it. And the fact, and just like I said to you today, when you pointed out in one of the videos I did of yours, was when I was like, you know, pushing in and out with the legs, I was actually doing squats. You know, I can barely squat with my body weight without pain.
Yeah.
You know, so be able to do that and feel good about it and not in pain and feel like I'm working my legs and working those muscles, it's a good positive feeling. Like, gives you that confidence to keep going.
And I think that's such an important point, the ability to, for me, and I'm going to get into my physio hat here, the fact that you can now, on a Reformer, you can get into those full range positions that with ease is so important, as opposed to I could go and do squats at the gym, but because it's under load, I'm only going to be doing half range anyway. And
You're not hitting those points, eh?
You're not getting those points. You're not getting the stretch and release that you get. And I spoke to you earlier about, you know, the philosophy from the training that I did of Reformer Pilates being about positive movement experience. There is nothing better than feeling like you can do something physical and achieve it.
Yeah. And I do feel that at the end of a class, you know, it's a challenge. I'm just like, oh, I've got to do something. It's a challenge getting changed, walking up to the Reformer, you know, like even just up my stairs, you know, it's like, you know, and like setting the scene and getting on there and just getting that first couple of like movements going. But once you're going and once you're moving and you're feeling things work that you haven't worked for a while, or you know, you couldn't do in the gym or you've done differently, I start feeling more capable.
Yes.
Yeah, which is a nice feeling when you feel incapable, like in other areas of your life, you know, or in that same area of life, but in the gym or on the field or on the court, netball court, or, you know, these other active spaces.
I think it's interesting too. I see, so our studio really does have, the average age of our members is 57. So they're probably more post-menopausal, but certainly have gone through the physical changes. And one of the things I love best is seeing people go, oh, I didn't know I could still do that. And I think for me, and I know this is my bias of Reformer Pilates, that ability to find different ways to move that now work your body, that now work with your body rather than against it. It's so empowering. That word's overused a lot, but it's just that, oh, I can do that. It was just that my muscles were tight and I'd never been taught to work them that way. I don't know if that's making sense.
No, it is. It is very empowering. It gets a little bit more of your confidence back when you realise I can still achieve that, but it's just different.
Yes.
A different route, a different path, different,
And I think too, it's that really interesting thing of so many people, when things get hard, from a physical point of view, they think it's because they've got weak. And what my experience is, often it's the tightness that's stopping the muscles from being able to work. And that's what I love about Reformer, because you give them that mobility and then suddenly their muscles work again and they're like, I love nothing more than to see in a class someone increase their strength. And I say that in inverted commas because I'm like, I know physically you cannot grow muscle fibre or, you know, strength in 45 minutes. But we can access the muscles differently to give you strength. And that's really, that quick change. There's not much in life that we, can get that instant result.
Yeah.
Of, oh my goodness, I can now squat down and put my shoes on easier.
Yeah. Mobility is such a big thing that's lost and needs to be refound. Like, it can be refound, right? And I feel I lost so much of that. I feel really locked up. I got, like you're saying, I feel like I lost all my muscle mass overnight, but I think it was what you're saying, that everything just locked up and I couldn't access it.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because that, back to the perimenopause symptoms, for so many women, it's things like incontinence and feeling that lack. And so they'll do quite naturally think I've got to strengthen it, so they do lots and lots of Kegels and things like that. Whereas often it's actually your hips are just so tight and holding on, and you've lost elasticity. You've lost that ability to both stretch and strength. And I think that is where the narrative around you must do weights to get strong misses the mark for a lot of perimenopausal women, because if they don't have the mobility to start with, it's exacerbating their problems. The getting back into weights, and I say nothing makes me happier than seeing a member from my studio cancel their membership because they now feel like they can get back to the gym.
Yeah, right.
But it's because they've found a different way to work.
Unlock themselves, really. Yeah, and that's why I love the short mobility classes that you do on demand. So even if I haven't got time or the energy to do like a big 30, 40-minute class, I'll just look for those kind of 15, 20-minute where it focuses usually on the hips or the lower back. And God, I feel amazing after them. It's
amazing how quickly it can change things.
Yeah.
I think, and that whole idea of the reformer at home being able to do those quick little bits.
Tailored to you.
I think it also, something that before meeting you today, I was doing a lot of just reading up. And I saw something that made me go, oh my goodness, yes, which was you talked about the fact that a lot of your messaging is around self-love, but that self-belief actually is a really big part of that. And I went, oh my God, that is my experience. Is self-love actually comes after belief in yourself.
Yes.
And the advantage with something like being able to go and do that 20 minutes is all that building that self-belief of, oh, okay, I can do something. When you hit that perimenopause, I just can't do anything. I can't do my 45-minute HIIT class. I can't. There's a lot of feeling like you can't, which eats into that self-belief, which sets that perpetual cycle of now I'm feeling not great about myself.
Self-esteem's shot.
And then it sets that vicious cycle. Whereas being able to find something you can do to just get that little bit of action of that self-belief. And it's amazing how that snowballs the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. And in most days, my self-belief in terms of what I can do is very strong. Well, depending on what day you ask of the month, right? But historically, and nearly, I'm very determined, can believe in my abilities, can get stuff done, that I can be driven like that. My self-love, I've gone on a journey with self-love, up and down, and that's gone on a journey with different sizes and weights and fitness levels. And over the years, I've talked about that on social a lot in terms of, I think one period I loved my body more when I'd put on weight versus the hard pressurized, fit athletic, like hardly any body fat, like trained, that it was different mentality. Where am I going with this? But basically, right now, my self-love is very low, if I'm honest. Very low. And I am quite ashamed of my body. For me, I feel embarrassed and ashamed of how my body looks and feels. So I've been a hermit for the past year, and all these reasons that we've talked about. Not just looks and feels, but I feel internally ashamed or embarrassed or just really disappointed in myself for the things that can't do. Like I said before, it's not just the looks, but it's like I can't put my socks on properly, can't bend over properly, I can't reach for that, I'm not as flexible, reactive, or these things I can't do is really probably more disappointing than the way I look in the mirror.
If I could wave a magic wand and say to you, right, I can give you one of two things. I can give you the way your old body looked, or the way your old body moved, how easy it was to put on socks, which would you choose?
Absolutely, how it moved, and responded, and yes.
And I think that, to me, in my experience with women, is where that real change of, oh wow, I don't, I would love to look the way I used to look when I was, don't get me wrong. If you gave me 2 magic wands, I'd probably choose both. I'm greedy.
Same.
But I am no longer, I really appreciate so much more I just want to be able to move.
Yeah.
It's such a different, I guess, realisation of how important that is.
And reach and bend and sit and stand and all these basic daily habits without pain or without restriction.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think what's fascinating, so, a little bit of, I had this major injury 2 years ago. I lost all of my ability to exercise. And this comes back to that self-belief. The one thing that, as I say, I don't love the way my body looks, but to be where I am today, when I couldn't walk around the block 2 years ago, my self-belief now has skyrocketed to the point where I'm like, you know what? That, whilst I don't love the way my body looks, I have a new appreciation for, my God, how the hell did it recover from that? Which is a really, really interesting.
It's that respect, and respect your body too, right?
Yeah, and I think I talked a lot during my rehab to myself. Spent a lot of time in my room doing nothing because I couldn't move, about the power of the word "and," that two things that seem to be contradictory can actually be true at the same time. And so coming for me at this point now of going, oh, wow, I don't like the way my body looks, but I really appreciate my body.
Yes.
And so I'm going to move to keep appreciating that, and I can be comfortable in that, but still want to change it. And I think that's also a really interesting kind of, I guess, process.
Yeah, because you feel like you're saying it's right and wrong, it's contradictory. You feel torn, but it's all right, it's correct. I'm putting myself out on social media. I'm very aware that from a health professional point of view, I'm not looking like someone that is healthy. But I also think, but my message can be, I'm as healthy as I possibly can be. Yeah.
For the situation that I'm in.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons.
It's what we define as healthy too, though, right?
And
it's the definition of health.
Yeah.
That people hold.
Yeah. Yeah. So the American Heart Association, which I just think so an ad to increase awareness of women with heart attacks. And the portrayal was that this woman it was clearly the morning routine, kids getting off to school, husband getting off to school. She was doing the breakfast dishes, making lunches, and she was showing quite obviously the signs of a heart attack, holding her chest.
Was this like a TV commercial?
It was like a TV commercial.
Yeah.
And then the family go off, and so she finally goes, oh, well, actually, I better call the ambulance, and then calls the ambulance, and they say, yep, that's fine, we'll be there in 2 minutes. And she looks around her house and says, no, actually, could you make it 6 minutes? I need to tidy up before you get here.
That's huge, eh? That's just like...
Yeah.
Speaks volumes.
Yeah, and on that whole heart health topic, two things. One is the fact that women are much more likely to die from a heart attack, not because they're likely to have one, but because after a heart attack and even after heart surgery, they're less likely to end up in ICU. And the thoughts are that that's around women just not being used to asking for help.
Or downplaying
their, I don't want to be a bother. Oh, look, it'll be okay. And so they just don't get the medical care that they need because they're not voicing what they need.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, we touched on this at lunch, so most medical research up until certainly the last 15 years has changed, but hasn't been directed towards women. So our medicines, our alternatives for how we treat are based on a male model.
Crazy.
Based on research, and that goes back to the heart thing, where we know that the symptoms of a heart attack for a woman are different to the symptoms of a heart attack for a man. But most people don't know that. You know, you're much more likely as a female to get jaw pain as a symptom. But we all know it as, oh, no, it's that left-sided arm pain. Yeah. That's a male symptom.
Wow.
And so any wonder women are more likely to die from a heart attack because their symptoms are not recognised.
No. And haven't been marketed and promoted out there as awareness.
There is. And so, it's quite
Do you think we're going through a bit of a phase, well, the phase that we're in now, for the past few years, I don't even know how long to say, that now, back on perimenopause, women are now confidently voicing their symptoms? Like, is that what all this noise is?
I think
the
so.
noises?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more. We're making sense of it.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily.
But we don't know what we need. We're not asking
for. We don't know what we need. There's still the hangover of not the estrogen studies that previously they thought showed a link between breast cancer.
With the HRT.
So there's a real myth around HRT is bad and you should avoid it.
Still a bit of a stigma around
there's
talking
a
about that.
And I think that's on both the medical side as well as women's side. Plus, and I think maybe
slowly changing though.
I think it is.
The HRT is slowly changing now. There's some big voices on profiles on social media who are pro HRT.
But then it's not that long ago, and I don't know what the situation is now. But we then had a global shortage of HRT. So it became really hard to access, and that comes back to that whole. We talked about it. One of my colleagues at work talked about how her and her friends were literally cutting up patches to share because it was so hard to get.
Yes.
And that comes back to that accessibility.
Yes.
You know, who can afford...
Yeah.
There's people that just literally can't afford it.
Yeah, and estrogels and stuff not being funded or not being funded. And you're right. It's the lack of, it's like the privilege of knowledge and education, and then the privilege of affording.
Yeah.
Whether to go to either afford the doctor's appointment or afford the prescriptions or afford it's.
Yeah, I mean just the doctor's visit, and we both have talked about, we know plenty of people that go to the doctor and the doctor dismisses it initially. So I don't know if there's ever been done any research, but I'd love to see what the statistics are of how many times you have to ask your GP before they actually finally prescribe estrogen.
And how much you've spent on appointments
so if you think about how many appointments, for some people they may save up to go to that doctor, but actually that was my $160 that I'd put in, and he didn't give me what I wanted.
Totally. But even just the build-up of going to the appointment, because I've had a couple of those throughout the year where I'm just like, I need to go see a doctor and talk about the anxiety before the appointment, because you've only got 15 minutes, of what to address first, and then you get to the appointment and you're just a jumbled mess of whiny, whingy, aches and pains and, so it's like... It's so hard to express and communicate and voice what we're actually going through.
Yeah.
And I have noticed actually a couple of menopause doctors or menopause, advocates on socials providing free downloads for women to help get all those ideas, be more coherent when they go in.
Yeah.
Coherent, is that the right word? Or just, make sense and go with a checklist and go with very organised kind of what you want to say to make the most of that appointment, which is really cool.
And it's that whole being able to advocate for yourself rather than putting yourself in the, I guess, what was the traditional GP role of here are my symptoms, you tell me what I need to do versus actually I'm coming in here and I need you to work with me, not
and
for
in a
me.
system that's systemically, can I say sexist and racist, it's very hard for women to do that and very hard for Māori to do that.
I can imagine.
Yeah. To go in and advocate for yourself in a space where you feel like you don't belong or you don't fit or you're entitled, you're lucky to be there type of thing, Yeah. And you kind of you get to the point sometimes where you don't, you're not qualified or able to do certain things. So you go in expecting the expert to have those answers for you as well.
Yes.
You get stuck in that mode sometimes growing up thinking, well, he's a doctor or she's a doctor. They have the answers. I don't, so I should listen to them.
And I think that's, and I think this is what you're saying, it's that interesting thing of hierarchy.
Yes. Yeah.
And doctor traditionally has been the top of the hierarchy.
Absolutely.
And
you grow up respecting hierarchy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And women are towards the bottom, but then if you add on different race, then you're even more towards the bottom.
Yes.
And that's where it's like, oh, wow, there's so much here.
Yeah. Then there's all those obstacles to fight through, as well as your perimenopause symptoms, you know? Like,
Exactly.
So everything seems like a battle at the end of the day. And you just want to like, oh, give up. I'll just have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Which is the worst thing to do when you're going through perimenopause symptoms. But
but then you also risk being judged for that. And again, it comes back to, I just wish we could be in a position where we had health advocates working for us. So 12 months on from starting to recognise that, shall we call it the shitstorm, the thing, what now do you reflect on that's working for you to deal with this period of time? You know, what have you introduced that you're going, okay, I'm making these changes, they may not be, there still might be a battle around some of them, but what are the things you're doing right now that you go, I've been so fortunate to have found this or this?
Yeah, it's still definitely a trial and error. You know, of giving things a go. Still a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
But more, as I said before, it's just a slower, it is just a slower paced approach.
Yeah.
And maybe slower is not a bad thing. You know, it's a gentle, be gentle with yourself, I think, more so. So walking is definitely something I've probably been the most consistent with throughout the year. There's been times where I've, haven't gone as much as I should, but walking seems to be a really solid solution to a lot of symptoms, physical and mental. Got walking outside,
And do you walk with yourself? You clearly walk with yourself.
walk with myself.
Do you walk with other people or
both?
by
I'll go by
yourself?
myself, or I'll grab a friend and take a friend, or take my partner, whatever. But I don't mind walking by myself, and I used to walk or run with music blaring in my ears. I don't anymore. I just like walking with nothing and just observing, enjoying the environment, the surroundings, and then. And I know nutrition and diet is a big thing. We haven't even touched really on that. It's all been exercise. But there's so many things, protein, creatine, fibre, all these other things that are just like, all the noise about what we need to be eating things. So I'm being more, trying to be more conscious of what I consume. And I think to not overthink it, I just want to try and eat as little processed, keep it clean, lots of veggies, lots of good protein, good fibre, avoid processed, just they actually common sense kind of approaches. We just need to remind ourselves that it's even more important now to follow it, and we don't have as much lenience for not following it. We can't get away with the extra bottle of wine, that bottle of wine for the week, or something like that, or the chocolate cake or whatever. So it's just been more. So I can't even remember my words. More strict one. I don't know. Because then obviously the protein and the creatine, all that lead into the muscle, right? That connection with muscle repair and muscle build or maintenance.
And the brain.
Yeah, and the brain,
proteins.
exactly, yes. And so I haven't lifted weights as such. I haven't been to the gym all year and gone to do a weight program. I've got some dumbbells at home where I might add a few shoulder presses or bicep curls, but they're only 5 kg, 3 kg and a 5 kg. But the Reformer Pilates has come back and, thanks to you guys and working with you guys since the beginning of this year, and just with a much different approach, with trying to create more stability, more strength, more balance, more confidence.
Again, if I'm really present and tuned into my body, strangely enough, my body knows what's good for it and it feels good. So it's to sit down to a big bowl of veggies will always make me feel really good afterwards.
Yeah.
Whereas to sit down to McDonald's might feel good at the short term, but I know that I won't feel great in the long term. And so if I can really just tune in and be really present to that, then I'm going to feel better anyway. And I feel better. I don't it's not a magic pill for getting rid of the weight.
Yeah.
But at least, it all goes into that feeling.
Well, it links into the energy. It links into energy, right? Your positive outlook and your energy and your And once you've got energy, then you want to work out.
Exactly.
So it all links in. And I think back on, I think one of the times I was probably at my peak fitness and wellness in my Motivate Me days. And we followed what we called clean eating plan back then, but I also started evolving into mindfulness eating. So just how you're saying, and just being really intuitive. Once you are tuned into your body and you do let yourself go there and be there and listen, your body tells you in all sorts of different ways what it needs.
Yeah.
And once you learn those cues and those solutions and feel the benefits, that just becomes such a beautiful cycle or space to be in.
Isn't that almost that whole antidote to that rushing woman? Like part of that rushing woman is I'm so busy I just don't tune in.
Yeah.
Whereas, and it's what I love about Pilates, reformer Pilates in particular, because I can get on that reformer, tune in and go, what does my body want today? Yeah. And it can be adapted. So there are days when I just get in and go, I just really need to lay here and just breathe as the carriage goes in and out.
Yeah.
But there's other days where it's like, no, actually I've got lots of energy. I'm going to push myself that bit harder and it still can adapt to that.
Yeah. It's taking the time to tune in, which we don't have generally the time. And that's it. Like when we are rushing around with work or kids or whatever and we have to eat, we don't stop and think. We just grab and go, whatever's there. But if you stop and think or tune in and be mindful about it, you'll feel, gosh, I feel like, I don't know, some eggs. I feel like some chicken. I feel like some vegetables. You actually crave those good things that you...
Or even more so when you're tired, you go, oh, actually, no, I'm not hungry. I need a nap. I'm actually looking for energy.
Yeah.
But it's not energy in the form of food.
Yes.
Actually, I just need to actually
rest.
take
Yeah.
a little bit of time
Yeah.
to rest. But that feels like it's too inconvenient, so give me that sugary energy or the caffeine drink to keep going.
Yeah.
I think I was always someone that I'm a real geek, so I love learning, love studying, no matter what it is. And so in the past, I always wanted to give people's answers. And, even a few things that you've said along the way, I'm like, oh, I wonder if, there's answers pop into my head as to, oh, gee, I think Makaia should try this. But when I went through my significant injury, one of the things I really, really appreciated was that it got really frustrating having people tell me what to do.
Yeah.
What I wanted was validation first.
Yes.
I'm really, really determined that if you don't get that validation first, then I don't respect the opinion that's coming.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
And I think that conversations like this give that validation of, okay, what I'm going through is real. And that in itself, this sounds woo-woo, but I still remember with my injury, and I had psychology afterwards, and the psychologist was the first person that said to me, all I can hear is this must be so hard for you. Validated everything. Didn't try to fix it. He was a psychologist. He wasn't going to from a physical point of view. But it was the first time that I went, he just reflected back my story, said, wow, you've come from being a busy businesswoman, loving exercise, blah, blah, blah. That's been taken away from you. That must be so hard.
Wow.
And I remember just going, oh, that's all I needed to hear.
Yeah.
And I walked out there going, I think he just cured me because he's just told me that what I am going through is hard and real.
Yeah.
And it changed the way that I treat patients now because I'm much more into that. Look, sometimes that's all they need to hear.
Yeah.
And then they can be open to whatever information but it also needs to come from them asking, not from me just giving my 1,000 opinions on what's worked for me.
And it's a bit of a build-up trust as well, isn't it?
Is, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But no, definitely the validation and listening and feeling that they've been heard.
Yeah.
And someone, just repeating that back to them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow, you listened to me, you picked up on the detail, you've understood my journey, and you're going to, I'm not having to,
I think the other thing that comes to mind there too is also belonging. As our human instinct is we want to be part of the pack. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting when you talked earlier today about the fact that going to the gym or going to the reformer classes didn't feel right because you no longer felt like you fit in.
I don't know if I said that on here, but that's been one of the changes. That's been one of the huge changes.
That's one of the things that these conversations where, there's somewhere that I belong.
Yeah.
Can be really, really powerful as well.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse as a human, no matter what stage of life you're in, than feeling like you don't belong.
Yeah.
And
or feeling alone in one of your most confusing times, or one of your most painful or frustrating times, and feeling alone, let alone not feeling like you're part of a group or part of a community. Yeah. No, that definitely was one of the things I've experienced this year. Is I could not face going to a Pilates class or a gym, even a gym. I really struggled walking in the door, just my self-confidence about the way I looked and the way I felt and the things I could not do in that gym really, really impacted me. And so, having the reformer at home is great. You can do it all in the privacy of your own home and try new things and do it the way you need to do it to, kind of flow through. So, there's been a lot of significant, and some people that know me or knew me even 10 years ago would be like, what? You're embarrassed to walk into a gym? Yeah. When I was like, or you can't jump, or you can't lift a barbell, like, it's just, and then it's dealing with that is really hard too, like people's perceptions of you as they were to what I am now.
And for you particularly, as someone that's had the very public persona of being all about
putting myself out there as that,
and it's suddenly like, well, wait a minute, I struggle with this too. It's an interesting challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about noise and these conversations and all this and having these, chats. I feel better coming out of them. Just talking about it, talking with someone that can relate, is on that journey with you, and it makes you feel I'm not the only one. Like, I know I'm going to leave this right now and feel uplifted.
Yeah, and I think the other,
even though my symptoms are still here, I'm still perimenopausal, I've still got all the pains, but I'm going to feel better.
And I think the interesting thing is too that it's a real conversation, as opposed to a conversation trying to
tell everyone what they need to do.
What you need to do.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to touch on?
No, I think this has been a great chat. Really great chat. I think I needed it.
I was going to say, I feel like I've achieved something for myself. It's been great. Yeah. Hopefully the listeners do too.
I hope so too.
Well, thank you so much.
Worries. Thank you for having me. Like I said, it's my first podcast in a very, very long time.
Wow. Cool setup too.
Very cool setup.